Okay, so by now you've seen that you can create a PowerPoint quiz and use some VBA coding to minimise the number of slides that you've got. So each question just takes one slide without the need for those correct and incorrect and lots of confusing hyperlinks all over the place. So now let's try and do some other things with it. We're going to collect the user's name. So I'm going to insert a new slide and I'm going to put it at the beginning, and what we want to do is collect the person's name before they start or as they start the quiz. So in order to do that we need to create an object in which to store the person's name. So up until now we've created subroutines that have run on the click of a button, but the information hasn't been stored anywhere. Now what we need to do is to create an object that will store some information. So this is what's called object-orientated programming, and how we do this is we create something and it says dim user ID. We're going to call it user ID. Now dim stands for dimensional. So if you imagine a cardboard box that you might use to store DVDs or toys or something, a box has dimensions, so it's a physical thing that exists. So what we're saying with this code is that we're creating an object that exists that should have some dimensions. So it's dim, and then user ID is just what I'm going to call it. It's a bit like if you had your boxes, you put a label on the outside of it saying DVDs, another label saying toys, so that's how you know what's in that box. So dim user ID, and it puts that a line underneath it, understands that we've created an object. So now we need to create another subroutine, we'll call it name, which to collect the person's name, which will then be stored in our dim user ID object. So we now need to say to it the user ID equals, and we need an input box this time, not a message box, an input box. Notice the capitals on the I and the B. Input box. Now we need to type in this time the prompt, make sure we spell it right, colon, and then equals, and now what is your name? Question mark. Close the speech marks and close the brackets. So what we've said there, so we've created a box, an object that's not called user ID. So think of your cardboard box with a label on it, and then we're going to have an input box, so a prompt that pops up, says what is your name, and the result of that is going to be stored in that object dim user ID. So first of all let's check that the user ID works. So we need to put we'll put an action button in, as that's the way we've been learning. So we'll run the name macro now. That's going to bring up the input box. Click to enter your name. So it's F5, click to enter your name, and here comes my input box. What is your name? Bob. Click OK. And that's as far as we've gone with it at the moment. Now what we would like to happen would be for it to go on to the next slide, and I'm sure that you have worked out how we would do that. We would simply take that piece of code there, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. That should now click to enter your name, Bob. There we go, and we're off. So that's what you need to do next. Set that up.